Let's make some poor man's burnt ends. So, welcome back to another episode. It's your boy Gabe, and today we are making poor man's burnt ends. Now, what are poor man's burnt ends? Well, they are still burnt ends, but they are a cheaper version of burnt ends. So instead of using the entire brisket, you are just using a chuck roast instead. So instead of paying $100, you're paying like $20. And instead of having 10 to 15 pounds of brisket, you have like 3 to 4 pounds of brisket. So let's get started. So with this, you still want to kind of treat it like a brisket. And so we are going to trim this just a little bit. Now with this chuck roast, you kind of want to look for more of the inside fat more than the outside stuff. Because the outside stuff you're not going to eat. So you want to make sure that it's got nice good marbling throughout the chuck roast. Now I don't need to trim a whole lot on the outside. They did a pretty good job of that. I'm going to trim maybe this guy right here. But the stuff that I really want is where they either burnt it or didn't, kind of bruised it, battered it, whatever. But I'm just going to get rid of it. Honestly, it's probably just oxidized fat, which is fine. I'm just going to get rid of it. Doesn't matter. It's gone. Poof. Gonna get rid of some of the silver skin. Okay, I'd say we are almost pretty solid. So let's dress up our meat. So for this chuck roast, I'm using the exact same seasoning I've always used. You can actually check out one of those videos. It'll be up in the top corner, and I'll go ahead and put it in the link. Put a link for it in the description below. So again, basis, yellow mustard. Gotta use the same techniques. But we're gonna cover this in some yellow mustard. Now you can wrap this in butcher paper. I don't have any butcher paper, and so I got this nice little aluminum pan that I'm going to put it in instead. Okay, bueno, and now for our seasoning. Dab up all the sides, make sure I get those nice and good. Make sure I get everybody nice and covered. Okay, we'll put them in our pan. Alright, so I got my smoker heating up outside. It should be pretty much about done. So we are going to smoke this at 225 for hopefully only a few hours, anywhere up to maybe 5. You're not really going for time because some smokers are hazy on what day they want to work, and so you want the internal temp to be 165 because then we're going to pull it, cube it, add all of our other stuff to it, and then put it back in the smoker. So let's go ahead, let's not waste any more time, let's put them in the smoker, let's get started. So we hit 165, we hit about 4 hours with this, not bad. So like I said, you're not really going for time as you are temperature. So there isn't a whole lot of juice that it produced, which is fine. So now I'm gonna cube this, put it back in the pan, and then we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients. So now the next part of this is very simple. There are 2 common main ingredients when doing burnt ends, and that's butter and brown sugar. And then the third one is whatever kind of barbecue sauce you want, whether you want to make your own barbecue sauce or if you have a preferred barbecue brand that you use, go for it. I'm using this particular brand. It's a cheap barbecue sauce. It still has the sweetness that you need. Some people, like me, I like Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce, but it's got a lot of brown sugar in it already. And so I don't want to use something that has a bunch of brown sugar and then proceed to add more brown sugar to it. that's a lot of sweetness, and so I don't want it to overpower the meat so much, and so I'm just using a regular off-brand barbecue sauce. Now, in the future, when I try this again, maybe I'll try it with Sweet Baby Ray's, but for now, because I know this is my first time doing it, I'm just going to stick to the generic barbecue sauce. So, for about a 4-pound, 5-pound chuck roast, you need about a stick of butter. And I'm just going to cut it into the 8 tablespoon markings that it's got. Obviously, make sure that you don't put the paper in it. And we're just going to kind of strategically place this throughout. Okay, next, I'm going to start with about a half a cup of my barbecue sauce. Just enough to coat them evenly. But you don't want a whole lot of extra sauce because the butter and brown sugar will make quite a bit. So I probably poured in a little, roughly about a half a cup. And then for brown sugar, you also want to do probably about a half a cup of brown sugar as well. I'm just going to do a nice light coating on top, a tad bit more. But yeah, just about a half a cup of brown sugar is fine. Maybe even a third cup of brown sugar. Especially if you have a smaller chuck roast, probably not a bad idea. Give that a good mix. All right, and then we're gonna put this back in our smoker, and we're gonna go at least an hour, if not probably 2 hours with this. So let's throw them back in the smoker, and I'll see you in about an hour or two. All right, so burnt ends. They smell fantastic. They have a nice char on them. They're a little hot, but they are tender. Let's try one out. Hot. Sure, Gabe. Let's eat them straight out of the smoker. That's a fantastic idea. But I'd say that's probably the best thing I've eaten in a long time. But it's got nice bark. It's a little tacky from the sauce that it makes, but that is delicious. It's like meat candy. Hot, 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 hot. But so good. Well, I'd say if this is what burnt ends are supposed to taste like, then I'd say we nailed it. This is, this is very good. And obviously, a lot easier than smoking an entire brisket, having to smoke half of it for, a day, and then either hoping to eat the other half and then making room for the other half and having to cut that up and do all that. Yeah, it's 1,000 times easier to do it this way, especially for someone that has smoked a brisket for a really long time. This is way simpler, and to be honest, this is pretty darn delicious. There you have it, poor man's burnt ends. So if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, comment down below. Tell me what I should do next, what you thought of this, what I should do differently, etc., etc., etc. And on that note, guys, peace out.